Have you ever been in a room where tension felt almost palpable, as though anxiety were hanging in the air? That immediate visceral sense defies a purely psychological explanation. Some experts say there might be a measurable electromagnetic factor at play. A recent study published in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine investigates how the heart's magnetic field changes under stress, hinting that our strongest emotions might extend far beyond our personal experience. Throughout today's exploration, we'll dissect how these invisible forces could carry information across social spaces, challenging the notion that emotions stop at our body's edge. This may sound like science fiction, but frontier research in bioelectromagnetics suggests a stunning possibility. Emotional states might generate, modulate, or even amplify measurable electromagnetic fields. Whether this phenomenon fosters interpersonal resonance or group coherence is hotly debated, yet the data is mounting. Before we leap into the technical details, prepare yourself. You may never look at a simple mood swing the same way again. Why should we care about whether emotions have an electromagnetic presence? As it turns out, mainstream neuroscience and physiology don't fully explain how deeply a person's emotional state can impact others, sometimes without direct verbal or physical cues. While classical psychology focuses on body language, vocal tone, and chemical signals like pheromones, some scientists are beginning to wonder if there's an extra layer of complexity. For instance, the HeartMath Institute's research has brought attention to the heart's electromagnetic field, measured up to several feet from the body using magnetometers. Could it be that this unseen field is partially responsible for that intangible feeling we get in a highly charged environment? Moreover, how does the central nervous system interact with these signals? It's plausible that our neural pathways are sensitive to subtle electromagnetic fluctuations. The evidence for such interactions may fill a critical gap in understanding psychosomatic processes, implicating not just psychology and chemistry, but physics as well. If this hunch holds, we might need to rethink how we define emotional contagion, empathy, and even therapy design, opening pathways for integrative methods that combine electromagnetic awareness with traditional treatment approaches. But not everyone is convinced. Critics argue that available evidence is inconsistent or too weak to cement a solid theory of emotion-driven electromagnetism. Some studies fail to replicate the measured magnetic fields purportedly influenced by emotional states, while others claim to find significant correlations. This tug-of-war in data can cause whiplash among researchers. From a purely classical physics perspective, while the human body certainly generates electrical activity, brain waves on EEG, cardiac waves on ECG, its electromagnetic fields were historically presumed too weak to exert any meaningful effect over distance. However, some measurements hint that the heart produces a comparatively robust magnetic field detectable several feet away. Then come the anomalies. Certain studies, like those from the Institute of Noetic Sciences, experiment with whether directed emotional intent can shift random number generators or subtle biological indicators. Critics call it anecdotal or flawed. Supporters point to cutting-edge instrumentation that can detect subtle fields and subtle changes. The friction between these camps indicates an area ripe for deeper inquiry. Are we merely chasing illusions, or is conventional science missing an uncharted phenomenon? This is exactly where rigorous testing and open-minded skepticism must collaborate to untangle the truth. Throughout history, thinkers from diverse cultures have described some form of vital energy or aura that reflects inner emotional states. Ancient Greek philosophers wrote extensively on the pneuma, the breath or life force. In traditional Chinese medicine, qi is believed to flow through meridians in the body, with emotional health intimately tied to energetic balance. However, centuries of empirical science have largely overshadowed these older paradigms. When Luigi Galvani discovered bioelectricity in the 18th century through his frog experiments, it revolutionized how we view the body's communication networks. Fast forward to the mid-20th century, and we have significant advances in electrophysiology that allow us to map complex neural pathways with astonishing precision. Now in the 21st century, the bridging of these two worlds, modern instrumentation and ancient conceptual frameworks, appears to yield tantalizing new insights. People who sense someone's emotional aura or talk about an energy they feel might not be dabbling in superstition after all. Could these intuitive experiences be the subjective impressions of electromagnetic phenomena that science is only beginning to measure? It's too early to say definitively, but these historical echoes remind us that sometimes old ideas, carefully re-examined, can gain fresh empirical support. In recent years, specialized magnetometers have become precise enough to detect subtle changes in the heart's electromagnetic output under different emotional conditions. For example, a study led by Roland McCready indicated that positive emotional states, like gratitude or love, can align with more coherent heart rate variability. This correlates with smoother and more stable signals, potentially extending outward as a consistent magnetic field. The instrumentation includes superconducting quantum interference devices, SQUIDs, typically used in magnetoencephalography, MEG, to measure brain waves. These same devices, within shielded rooms to eliminate background noise, have caught slight fluctuations correlated with subjects' reported emotional shifts. The question is whether these fields influence others. Preliminary data suggests that when individuals are in close proximity, aspects of their heart rhythm patterns can synchronize, hooking into each other's internal frequencies. This phenomenon has also been studied in group meditation settings, where coherent emotional states might create a measurable feedback loop. Though the data isn't bulletproof, each incremental step reveals a puzzle piece, hinting that an entire dimension of emotional communication might exist beyond recognized physiological or chemical pathways. Digging deeper, scientists also look for objective biomarkers. If there is indeed an emotional electromagnetic field, one reliable indicator could be shifts in heart rate variability, HRV. This metric, widely used in psychophysiological research, provides insights into emotional reactivity and autonomic balance. Emotional states that promote relaxation and well-being often make HRV more coherent, while stress and anger produce erratic patterns. In simultaneous measurements conducted on pairs of individuals, small but statically significant synchronizations have been observed, especially when participants share strong emotional bonds or are intentionally focused on each other. A 2017 study in Frontiers in Human Neuroscience documented subtle cardiac synchronization in couples, with the authors hypothesizing that electromagnetic processes might underlie portions of this phenomenon. However, confounding factors such as mirrored breathing and shared environmental cues must also be considered. Ruling out these influences is complex, requiring robust experimental controls. The challenge, then, lies not only in measuring the potential electromagnetic field, but also in ruling out every competing variable. If future research nails down this cause-effect chain, we might open an entirely new frontier in emotional science, quantifying the resonance between people in ways previously unimaginable. Further experiments in psychophysiology labs attempt to isolate these variables by introducing randomization and double-blind procedures. In one scenario, neither participant nor experimenter knows who is experiencing induced emotional states, from calm guided imagery to frustration tasks, yet subtle changes in the other participant's physiology often emerge in real time. This phenomenon, sometimes labeled energetic resonance, requires advanced analytics to confirm that what's being observed isn't just noise. It's reminiscent of how entangled systems in quantum physics can show correlations, though it would be an overreach to claim quantum entanglement in emotional fields. Still, such parallels highlight the necessity of advanced methodologies to strip away illusions and reveal the core effect. If consistent results hold up under peer review, we'd gain invaluable insight into collective dynamics, how group moods might form in everything from families to entire communities. Imagine if even modest shifts in emotional electromagnetic signatures could sway group morale in sports teams, corporate brainstorms, or social movements. The ramifications are profound, but proving them requires meticulous replication and cross-disciplinary collaboration. Each incremental discovery adds another piece to a puzzle that's looking increasingly difficult to ignore. We stand at the intersection of electrophysiology, psychology, and perhaps even subtle energy research. The potential implications are enormous. If emotional states do modify local electromagnetic fields, how might that translate into treatment for mental health or chronic stress? Biofeedback techniques already use heart rate variability training to foster emotional self-regulation. If we confirm that these electromagnetic changes can be perceived by or transmitted to others, it could revolutionize approaches to group therapy, couples counseling, and empathy-building programs. Experts in integrative medicine propose designs for medical sensors that track electromagnetic coherence as an objective measure of emotional well-being. Meanwhile, coaches and organizational consultants might adopt new frameworks to cultivate group coherence in collaborative settings. But bridging these fields demands rigorous demonstration of causation, not just correlation. If the results hold, we could potentially see psychologists, physicists, neuroscientists, and cardiologists aligning their research methods to explore an entirely new dimension of emotional health. The next steps in this journey will require large-scale experiments with robust controls, an exciting challenge that, if conquered, might reshape our understanding of the invisible ties that bind us together. Here's a surprising twist. Some of the most compelling hints come from identical twin studies. Because twins share genetic similarity and often have strong emotional bonds, any shared electromagnetic resonance might be magnified. Preliminary work, such as that discussed in conferences on biofield research, has exposed twin pairs to controlled emotional stimuli. In more than one instance, the non-stimulated twins' physiological markers, like subtle shifts in galvanic skin response or micro-variations in heart rhythms, appeared to track those of the stimulated twin, even in separate rooms. Could there be an electromagnetic bridging effect? Though these results are far from conclusive and require repeating under strict conditions, they pose a valid challenge to conventional assumptions. Could shared genetics and unique bonding amplify or clarify an electromagnetically mediated resonance? Critics demand that we eliminate any hint of chance or psychological suggestion. Yet, if further research replicates these findings more robustly, twin studies might provide insight into how strongly or subtly emotional electromagnetic fields form and propagate. It's a classic pattern interrupt precisely because it puts the question of intangible connections front and center, hinting that the phenomenon might be real and more common than we suspect. Emotions as an influential force have been embedded in cultural traditions for millennia. Consider indigenous healing ceremonies in which the collective emotional state is thought to influence an individual's recovery. Anthropologists have documented phenomena like synchronous chants or rhythmic drumming that participants describe as harmonizing the group's energy, sometimes culminating in measurable physiological changes. Cross-culturally, there's a recurring theme. Emotions can travel beyond personal boundaries, creating collective emotional atmospheres. And though many have traditionally viewed these accounts as symbolic or metaphorical, modern research might confirm a literal, physical exchange of signals. Old wisdom might thus contain seeds of verifiable science. The unifying point is that people across continents and eras have recognized a powerful and sometimes mysterious interplay of emotions that extends beyond the self. Now, with advanced tools in bioelectromagnetics, it seems plausible that we're capturing data reflecting exactly that. While the historical record doesn't constitute proof, it provides context that human communities have long attuned to intangible emotional transmissions, hinting that science is just beginning to catch up with an ancient understanding of interconnectedness. So where does the field go from here? The next phase of exploration involves multi-layered experiments measuring a host of physiological indicators simultaneously. Imagine a research environment where participants wear advanced headsets capturing EEG signals, heart monitors tracking ECG and HRV, galvanic skin response sensors, plus highly sensitive magnetometers. Then add robust psychological profiling, ensuring that emotional states are well-defined through validated scales. Next, place participants in shielded environments to rule out external electromagnetic interference. Finally, incorporate real-time data analytics that look for correlations and synchronizations between participant signals at microsecond intervals. Early pilot studies using such designs have generated intriguing data, but the sample sizes are often too small for definitive conclusions. The frontier calls for larger, well-funded projects. What if we bring the power of machine learning to spot patterns that humans might miss? or integrate quantum-level instrumentation for even finer measurements. The complexity is daunting, but each layer of experimentation refines our models, inching us closer to understanding how emotions might modulate subtle fields around us. The methodical unraveling of these threads, combining rigorous statistics with cross-validation, could either confirm the phenomenon or decisively relegate it to the realm of speculative error. In either case, we advance science by venturing where few dared to look. As we move toward a potential resolution, one thing is evident. No single discipline can unravel this mystery alone. Physics provides the equations for electromagnetic fields, while psychology studies emotional states, and neuroscience details synaptic and neural correlates. Cardiologists measure heart function, and data scientists analyze large, complex data sets. The synergy among these fields is increasingly important, because if there is an emotional field effect, it bridges mind, body, and environment in profoundly integrative ways. We see glimpses of a possible conceptual revolution, that our internal states might not be as self-contained as we once believed. Should further experimentation confirm these effects, social psychology would need to incorporate these findings into models of empathy, crowd behavior, and social influence. Entire bodies of research in mental health might shift, taking into account the subtle fluxes in electromagnetic signals as part of therapy approaches. It's a daunting, exhilarating prospect, and not without controversy. The complexity of our interconnected systems, from the quantum scale up to social dynamics, encourages a deeper humility in our scientific worldview. We have much left to discover, and each new discovery reshapes our understanding of what we thought we knew. Could emotions be more than fleeting mental states? Could they literally transmit information through electromagnetic waves? Hard data is gradually accumulating, but definitive answers remain elusive. Now it's your turn to weigh in. How do you see this emerging research shaping our understanding of human connection? And what experiments would you propose to test the electromagnetic hypothesis? Are we uncovering a profound aspect of our biology, or is it all just an overreach into pseudoscience? If you have insights, hypotheses, or criticisms, share them in the comments below. Let's elevate the dialogue beyond speculation and dig into constructive discourse. In a world hungry for tangible empathy and deeper unity, these findings, if validated, could transform how we approach well-being, relationships, and even global collective states. Consider this more than just a scientific curiosity. It might be a stepping stone toward harnessing the overlooked power of emotional fields for personal growth, social harmony, and the next generation of mind-body science. The final chapters of this story remain to be written, and your curiosity might help drive the momentum toward uncovering the truth. Stay tuned, stay critical, and let's keep exploring the dynamic, mysterious bridge between emotion and electromagnetism.